Hello everybody. I'm not much of a slideshow person, so I'm just gonna be showing my face for a little bit before we jump right into it. I know that I've got Andrew and Jake on here with me. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well. I'm just gonna plug in some headphones here to knock out any potential feedback.
And Andres, I'm doing well as well. This is Andrew. If you guys get a little background noise, just let me know. I'm actually using my computer mic, so
Yeah, I'm using the headphones mic, which may not be the best quality, but hopefully
that
it's
sounds
good
good.
enough.
Sounds good.
I had to go lock myself in a room in order to minimize the chances of a scream or something popping through.
No, that I understand. Trust me, I understand that, and there's a good possibility that we'll get a stream coming from that direction.
So I got to be honest, I haven't played around too much with Double Agent, so I may need your help, Andrew, when we get to that part. Obviously, I'm very, the whole building national sites and mass posts, that's my thing, so I'm very confident in that. But we want to use the overlay to direct the traffic somewhere else, so I want to make sure that, I may hit a few speed bumps whenever we get to that part.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
So, what this webinar came about because when we opened up the Facebook group, we asked that you guys ask us some questions, and one of the questions that kind of got all of our involvement and dealt with it was a very specific example. This person has a personalized gift business. It's a local business, but they wanted to know how they could approach it to where they could rank nationally and still drive that traffic to their specific website to generate those sales. So we were all kind of piping in different ideas of what we would do. And it seemed, like the most popular one would be to build some of these mass page sites that we do and just funnel the traffic over to their specific website. And that's the part that got a little bit confusing because we weren't quite sure um, where exactly the traffic was going to be funneling to. If they wanted to funnel it just to the front page, or if they wanted to funnel it to collect leads. So we'll talk a little bit about that and what best type scenario would be. But the neat thing about it is that once you turn on these little traffic funnels, I guess you can direct them anywhere. It doesn't matter where you're directing them, and it just whatever makes sense for your particular setup. But this is a slightly different approach to the regular SERP Shaker site where we go after services and stuff like that because we're dealing with specific product. And it seems like people tend to get hung up a little bit when you're dealing with products. But in reality, the setup it's exactly the same. I'll show you once we get right into it. Setup exactly the same, and you'll see just how simple it is to build these. And also the neat thing about it is that a lot of times there's very little competition when you're dealing with products. So you do end up getting that number one, number two spot in a lot of those cities, which turns out to be quite a good amount of traffic. Have you guys experimented much with product type sites?
Yeah, Andres, if you're talking about to Jake or myself, or you're talking to the
To you two, you and Jake.
we do a lot of product sites. I mean,
Don't you have a pin business, and that's how you started with the whole mass
yeah,
sites with the
actually,
lapel?
believe it or not, I mean, we do. I do. I have a couple of different businesses, and I take an approach. The first thing I do, even for myself or for clients, is we set up these funnels right out of the gate because it's almost instant traffic. As they're getting indexed, traffic is getting pushed to them right out of the gate. And as we all know, in SEO, the biggest problem that I think everybody has in SEO is that there's been so much snake oil back in the day. These companies that were coming in from India and everything else. Hey, pay me a whole ton of money, and in a couple of months from now, you'll see some results. I like to give a client some results right out of the gate. And as soon as they can start seeing some traffic come through there, it gives me a little bit of time to start working on their broad keywords as well. So I like to use a two-pronged approach, and I like to create the funnels, and I also then like to do some traditional SEO on their broad keywords. But it gives me a little bit more time and a little bit more breathing room. But that's exactly what I do for myself as well, for every single one of my companies.
Right, right, right. So, with that being said, I I'd say let's just go ahead and jump into the build. You guys feel free to chime in with, we all have different experience. One of the things I do want to say is that, as you get us teaching, Holly, myself, and Andrew, we all approach things in our own way based on our own testing. And so, there might be times when I'll say something that it maybe contradict something that Andrew has said in the past. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's wrong or I'm wrong. It just means that, there's different ways to approach a lot of the same scenarios. And we've all, one of the things that I like about SEMeasy and Andrew and why I decided to jump on, it's because everything that they teach is very driven by actual data, actual results from their own testing, and that's what I like to show too. Is that, I'm not gonna come on here and talk about theory. I'm just gonna show you how I do things, and that's just my specific approach to it. And Andrew's approach might be a little bit differently. So you're gonna benefit from the fact that we have a group of people here all teaching you, because we're all kind of drawing from our experience to show you that kind of stuff. So let's see, how do I get over to my screen?
Yeah, Andres, right on the top there should be a screen sharing.
Yeah, it's saying that it's waiting to view Jake's screen. So I guess I should make myself the presenter.
There you go. I got your screen now.
Okay. So I'm gonna show you guys see my whole screen, right?
Yep.
Okay.
For the most part, yeah, I can still see you on the top of the screen. Um, I can still see you at the top of the screen, but I can, for the most part, see most of your screen. Yep, I got it. I got it all now.
Okay. Okay. Just turn myself off. I don't need to show myself the whole time. All right, so let me zoom in a bit here because I know that the resolution on these Macs could be a little bit um, high. So basically what I did just to kind of prepare for the webinar here, I just launched a random site, just on a random domain, installed the SEMeasy plugin, installed Shaker Pages or SERP Shaker, which is my plugin. And one of the things I do want to say also is I don't want this to be sort of like, oh, he's showing up Surfshaker, I got to buy Surfshaker now. I know a lot of the members in SEMeasy have the plugin, so I figured it was just okay to show that. If you happen to not have it, you absolutely want it. I'm not doing any kind of sales pitch. Just send me a private message, and I'll get you a great deal. Now that I'm a part of SEMeasy as well, I don't, I'm not trying to profit off of that. So
Yeah, Andres, what we'll also do is we'll get together after the webinar. We'll put something. We can put something right up on SEMeasy that if any of the members want to get it, we'll give them the link. They could just jump right in and purchase it there.
right, okay. So yeah, but I just wanted to, this isn't about showing off SerpShaker. This is just how I happen to, the tool that I happen to use to build these. There's different tools available to build the mass page sites, and with the popularity of SerpShaker, it seems like more and more are coming out, which is good. The market's getting it's getting some variety in it, and the competition drives innovation. So it's really good stuff going on in the mass page market. And when we got the question with the personalized gifts, um, I just immediately thought, this is a pretty simple setup, because and the way that I want people to think about it is, when you're building these funnels, these sites, don't think in terms of one or two sites. You really want to start at least with 10, if not more, that are all going to be driving traffic, and that gives you some really good variety, because you can really start targeting some really good long tail keywords that way. And one of the best ways to just even get an idea of what keywords to target is just go straight to Google and start typing in your niche. You start typing in personalized gifts, or even just the word personalized, and right away you start seeing different things that people are typing in that they're looking for. And so what I would do is I would take each of these, especially if, obviously it needs to make sense. It needs to be something that you sell in your store for this specific example. But if it is something that you sell in your store, for example, we've got Easter coming up, so they're personalized Easter baskets. So we can even go ahead and get started going off of this idea. And that's what we would build this whole website around, is just personalized Easter baskets. And then for the next site, we would take the next whatever sub niche it was of personalized gifts and just keep on going down the list and build these different sites out. So I'm just going to be building one. I'm going to show you the general setup for one, but you can rinse and repeat as many different times as you want, and you can all funnel all of these to the same exact website or to separate landing pages that you've got set up for, like if we're talking about Easter baskets, then you have a landing page just for the Easter basket set up and that kind of stuff. So it just gives you a lot of freedom to how you want to approach it, how you want to set it up. But the premise, we want to start out with a shaker page, which is just our content that we're going to use for this. And if we're going after the personalized Easter baskets, that's going to be the main term that we're targeting. We want to make sure that we start out our title with that. So I just put in personalized Easter baskets. And this is where we start putting the local approach to it. Because if we're trying to rank for personalized Easter baskets, we're going to be going up against a lot of these authority sites. I mean, we've got Pottery Barn Kids showing up here, Personal Creations, Etsy. These are all pretty big authoritative sites. Personalization Mall, I know it's one of the big ones. So, we don't want to compete with those. We want to bring things down to the local level and try to take advantage of that traffic of people that they're specifically looking for this gift, personalized Easter baskets, and they're looking for it in their local area. And so our idea, what we want to do is we want to take the person that's looking for it locally, let them see that they can purchase it online, and possibly offer them such a great deal that it just makes sense to them in their head, like, oh, I don't even have to leave the home. Why bother going to go shopping for it locally when I can just buy it right here, right now, ship it to me, and I never left the house. You want to make sure you push that convenience of it. So with we've got personalized Easter baskets in city, state. Actually, I like to do state short, just the abbreviation, and zip. Now this part right here, with the way we've got SERP Shaker set up, this actually controls the slug, which is the URL for your post. So we can I like to get a little bit creative with this part. I add some modifying words. So something like buy personalized Easter baskets, and we'll change this into near me. I've been using that near me a lot in my slugs because I've noticed that the near me type keyword searches have been going up and up and up. You do a lot of searches from your phone, and a lot of times you're just going to type in near me, and so this gives us a chance to show up for those searches as well. So this ends up being this slug: buy personalized Easter baskets near me in city, state short, which is the state abbreviation, and the zip code. And this is just going off of a list that I've already got preset right here. I've got my short codes already in there. It's just a list, I believe 29,000, 30,000 locations or so that I've got preloaded into my site. And then the H1 that shows up at the top of the post, if we're looking at a regular post, we actually set that up a little bit farther down over here in this Shaker page SEO settings. This is where the H1, so this is where I get a little bit more, I go straight to the keyword that I'm trying to rank for, which is personalized Easter baskets in city, state short. So I don't add any of the modifiers or anything to the H1. I want the H1 to be just the main keyword itself, very strong. And then the content. The content, for the most part, I usually steal it, I guess you could say. I just grab it from Easy Articles. I don't like coming up with my own article with my own content, and I've actually had better results doing it this way than going the route of purchasing content or hiring a content writer, because the way that I actually look for the content is by going straight through Google. I like using Easy Articles, so I'll do a site, easyarticles.com, and I'll put in the keyword, which is personalized Easter baskets. Now, this is a very, well, I was going to say that this is a very narrow niche and probably won't find any articles, but that's there's 200 different ones that we can choose from. So this is perfect. I'll just open up this first one here. And the reason why I like going through Google, and I know I've said this a ton of times, but every time that I say it, I get a person that never heard it before, so might as well repeat it now. But I like going straight through Google to do the site search for Easy Articles, because it's basically Google telling me this is a very good article for that specific keyword. It's already optimized for that. Google recognizes that it's optimized for that keyword. So it just gives me a very good base to start with. Whereas I noticed when we were purchasing articles, there was a period of time when we purchased articles directly from iWriter, and we weren't cheap. We used the high quality settings in iWriter and did everything the way that you're supposed to get high quality articles. But every single one, maybe not every single one, but I would say like 90% of the sites that we ended up doing with original articles from iWriter completely tanked. They never even took off.
Andres, I had the same experience.
Right. I think it was around the same time when we were testing some stuff together.
Absolutely. A lot of you guys might not realize that Andres and I go back quite a ways, and even though we had never really partnered with a lot of different things, we definitely tested and shared a lot of different things together. And yes, we had actually shared. Actually, we had, if I remember correctly, Andres, we had an account with a content writing company as well, where we were punching out articles, and they were horrible. I shouldn't say the articles were horrible. The results were horrible.
Right, and that it was very, it's one of those where you start kind of like scratching your head, like hold on a second, like, everything you hear about is content, and unique content, and so we decided that we were gonna go and stop copying the articles from Easy Articles and just go the unique content route. And it's one of those where, in theory, it should have been amazing, but then once we actually tested it out, it was a complete flop. And so, when we started looking at what had changed in our builds, the one thing that had changed is that we were no longer using content from Easy Articles, and we were using content that was supposed to be unique and well written, which it was. It was well written, and it did pass Copyscape because we ran everything through Copyscape, but it just wasn't ranking. So by doing it this way, we're already starting with a really good base for an article. Granted, they might be a little bit over optimized to today's standards, but Google's still showing them. So, Google wouldn't show, if I were to put in the keyword and it was completely over optimized to the point where they think it's trash, they wouldn't show it as the number one result. So that kind of gives me a little bit of breathing room, and just makes me feel good that when I bring this into my website, I'm starting out with a really good base. So if we look at this article here, I tend to build my websites really fast and I don't pay too much attention to them. So whenever I just open up an article like this and I do a quick glance, all I'm looking for is that there's paragraph breaks. Sometimes you'll get one article where it's just a big, huge block of text, and that just makes it really hard to work with. But if right away I see that there's paragraph breaks, to me that's good enough to bring it over to my website.
I do stay away from Andres when I'm going through content. I always also try to stay away from the 5 tips on how to do whatever, because oftentimes in the spinning process that gets all messed up. If it's all breaking down, like step one is to do and step two, I try to stay away from those or ones that have a lot of bullet points
Bullet
and stuff
points,
like that.
right? Right.
Yeah,
If they're just bullet point after bullet point after bullet point, I mean, it's not an article. It really is just a list. And
yeah,
so I tend to stay away from those too. But if I see that it's got a good paragraph structure
yeah.
and I can read like the first sentence with by telling that it's an English writer, then I go ahead and grab that article. So I usually just grab it all the way down to
Versus the article that says it is the year of time to buy baskets for the Easter.
exactly, yeah, and there'll be plenty of those. But
Sure will.
for the most part, though, you won't get many of those on these first couple results because
Correct.
Google itself won't even categorize those that high. But if you start going deeper into the different pages, that's when you're going to pick up some of those.
Oh yeah.
And so I grabbed the article right until whatever the resource box shows up because I don't want to bring that over into my website. And then we just paste it right in here. Now, I'm going to have to zoom out a bit so I can see this a little bit better. Let's see. I usually immediately, as soon as I paste it in, I jump over to text mode and I do go into cleanup mode. I start removing the extra tags that they tend to add. They add some div tags and the article source.
And guys, note also, Easy and Article changed their article structure. They changed their article structure from like a permalink that if you copy it, it actually puts the source link in. Um, Easy and Articles went through a process where they were uh, disavowing links and everything else. So you don't really want to link back to the article. I know that in a lot of cases, you might want to, good SEO tells you link back to an original source or whatever else. Don't link back to Easy and Articles. Do yourself a huge favor and just don't do it.
Especially if you're going to be doing a mass page site, they're not going to want
Absolutely.
to see 30,000 links coming to from
If,
one
if you
website.
guys if you guys get a chance, go to Ahrefs or go to Majestic and take a look at Easy and Articles, and I'll actually see if I can get a screenshot of it. It's amazing. You can see all of a sudden everything fell right off for Easy, and they definitely went through and they definitely mass reported pages that were linking back to them. I think it was their downfall actually, and I probably had a lot to do with it. So I do.
But yeah, and they do definitely when you copy and paste, they add that source down at the bottom. And even if it's not a hyperlink, it's just a regular plain text link. But just remove that. We've had instances where keeping that in there has negatively affected the site. I believe you have as well, Andrew. Lost a few that way. So just delete that plain text link that gets added at the bottom for the source.
Yep.
And then
I'm looking here, and it looks like from the beginning of the beginning of 2014, they went through a whole process where they were just killing all the links back to them. They dropped, I want to say they dropped almost 8 million links. Went from 10 million down to like 2 million. So
that's
there was a
insane.
huge.
That's I mean, and you can just imagine though that when people the whole reason people use easing articles is to link back to them so that they can get that article ranking itself. But I mean, I don't know about you, but it's been a long time since I see an easing articles on the first page of Google. I don't think
No,
they're ever gonna get back on there.
no, I don't believe so either. They should just actually restart a new domain.
But that's the thing with authority sites is you spend so much time building that authority that it's hard to get to kind of refresh. And that's one of the things that I love about these kind of sites is that we're not really spending that much time on them. So we're not worried if we do get hit with some kind of penalty or something. It's just a matter of rinse and repeat and redoing it again. And you're not spending all this time on one particular site trying to make it an authority. You just got all these little hubs that are out there grabbing traffic, and maybe you do have your one authority that you're focused on, and that's where you're sending the traffic. But at least these extra ones are generating traffic for you, and they took maybe at most, once you get really good at it, 30 minutes to set up, if that. They just continue sending traffic to you. So at this point, it's just basic on-page SEO. If you don't have a good understanding of on-page SEO, just start, reading up on it, and install I believe the Yoast plugin will analyze the content for you and let you know. You got to have your keyword in the first sentence. You got to have your keyword in the last sentence. Make sure you have an H2 with the keyword, that kind of stuff. Now, you don't want to overdo it, because you are going to get hit with over optimization. So I still use a lot of the on-page SEO basics, but instead of just focusing on that one keyword, personalized Easter baskets, I start switching things up, and that's when you start adding a lot of the um, supporting keywords. And for the person that owns the personalized business, a lot of those supporting keywords already. You don't have to do keyword research, and
Customized Easter gifts. I mean, it's all those LSI keywords, guys, that Google can identify that they mean the same thing without you over optimizing. So, like for instance, rather than personalized Easter baskets, it would be, customized Easter gifts. It would be, I mean, stuff like that.
right, it's real simple. I tend to not use the Google keyword tool or anything anymore, because you're gonna get, when you're dealing with these kind of sites, you're gonna get a lot of data that's not really correct. And we're not targeting the national term, so it gets really hard to really come up with like numbers or anything to say as a guideline. And I feel like a lot of times you end up leaving a lot of good stuff on the table that could potentially bring you in a ton of traffic, because there's nobody else competing for it, and Google doesn't show that there's traffic there. But trust me, there's so many different sites that I've put together that if I were to put the keyword into the keyword tool, it would be like a definitely no go. But you end up building out the site, and before you know it, you've got 300, 400 hits coming in a day from a dinky little keyword. So I've been, especially with this product type setup with the sites, when you put the products and then put the local twist to it, there's been many times when I've been surprised at the amount of traffic that is there, that Google would have, they would have said that that's not there at all.
I agree. I mean, Andres, just to further that point just a little tiny bit, I've actually had people that have said to me, and even myself, there's going to be no local traffic with this at all. There's going to be no local traffic with this at all. I just set up a network for myself this past week, and I'm talking about, from building to indexing, and it's already brought me 720 visitors within, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 days. So
Yeah.
over 100 visitors a day on a brand spanking new network.
It's crazy. It's crazy. There's so many different pockets of traffic out there that if you were to focus on what Google is giving you, or whatever a keyword tool is giving you, you're gonna miss those. So, I mean, yes, you want to start somewhere. Like, you notice how when I typed in, and I went straight to Google and I started typing in the word. You want to at least have a starting point. But once you got that starting point, just kind of start bearing things up. Just enough about I guess when the only time that I would say you need to do keyword research is if you don't know the language. Like, I've started doing some foreign language SEO with these kind of setups. So I have no idea what I'm writing about. I'm just copying and pasting things. So at that point, obviously, we don't know the language at all. We've got to have some kind of keyword tool to tell us what to target. But if you know the English language, all we got to do is just switch things up. Add a few words here, a few words there. And now, where keyword tools do come in handy is for when you're generating the tags, because then you want to be able to target a lot of those different tags. And personally, I use Longtail Pro just to get a long list of tags that I can target. And then I basically just take that list that Longtail Pro spits out, I split it up, and let's say I'm going to do 10, 20 sites. Then for every site, I've started targeting 8 to 10 tags or so. I used to. There was a period of time when I was doing a lot more tags, and we were having a lot of fun with that. But with the whole recent de-indexing issues and everything, we've cut back down to what the basics were, which were 8 to 10 tags. So I would just use the keyword tool to generate those tags, but don't use the tools to tell you what's the main keyword you're going after. Go after the main keyword itself, whatever you want to rank for. Because even if it is something super competitive, or that you think it's super competitive, it's not going to be in Wasilla, whatever, in those little random cities. It won't be as competitive. So you'll still get traffic from a lot of the smaller cities, even if it's something super competitive.
Absolutely. Andres, on that point, well, two things. It's funny you mentioned Longtail Pro. I actually started speaking to Spencer. I think he was making like three to $10 a week on AdSense when I first connected with him, way before he created Longtail Pro, and he's done very well for himself. But that's an aside. But how I actually check each one of my niches, and this is just a nice little tidbit. What we actually do is I'll grab my keyword, and I have, let's say 10 different cities across the U.S. So some of them are small, little, like a village, one's a town, one's a more major city, and I'll just test each one of those 10, and I'll just look at the SERP results, and I'll just look and see, is anybody trying to target this locally? And it gives me a pretty good idea about how I can penetrate into that market.
Right, right. So we can take like one of these, like for example, these are Alaska cities. So we can do go to Google, and we'll do personalized Easter baskets in Adak, Alaska. And so we
Yep.
start seeing, and we'll notice everything that's popping up, it's just a magic jello. And then all these are saying that it's missing Adak, Alaska. So these are not even targeting that city. They
And
just
this gives me a really good, yeah, gives me a really good option. I mean, a really good insight as to whether I'm going to be fighting with other people in this niche, or if I'm not, or it's wide open.
This is
Like I
what I
said,
would consider a wide open niche. Um,
absolutely.
and so, and you've got, so like I said, you've got so many different ways that you can hit it. So, kind of going back to the article, you have a really, you started out with a really good, strong article. All you have to do at this point is make it relevant to that local city. If we notice here the results, all of these are ranking for personalized Easter baskets, but they're not, the keyword that we put in was specifically in Adak, Alaska, and these are missing that. So they're not even, nowhere on that page does it mention that city. So
Yep,
just the fact that you have that city in there somewhere, more than likely you're going to end up on that one of those top 3 results right away.
absolutely.
And it'd be kind of neat to actually, once we build out the site, get an index. It'll probably just last about a day, because usually when I show something live, there's always that one person, I don't know why, that decides, let's get this site de-index. But I'll try
Uh,
to keep track of it.
I, I won't do it to you today.
All right. So to be able to get the article to be relevant to that local city, all we have to do is just drop in this part right here, in city, state, short SIP. This combination, we just drop it throughout the article. So, it's that time of year again when spring is in the air, in city, state, short SIP, and Easter bunny, Easter basket. Let's go ahead and make this personalized Easter basket, because we do want to have that first keyword there. So this is the keyword ends up being in the first sentence. And then we'll change this personalized to customized Easter baskets for kids. We'll add in the location. And also keep in mind, if you're going to be overlaying these, it doesn't really matter if wherever you end up throwing this location, if it doesn't fit 100%, because nobody's going to be reading it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to skip a few paragraphs here. I'm going to get rid of a few of these personalized so it's not overdone. We'll change this one to GIFs. So you just notice how I'm kind of manipulating the content a little bit. Just making it a little bit to where it's not as overly optimized, but I don't want to change the setup of it too much because Google already told us this is a good article. We don't want to mess with it too much to the point that, once the bot comes through, analyzes the content, they end up seeing it as something completely different than what it started as. Add a few more locations. And that's it. I want to make sure that I end the last sentence with some kind of variation of the keyword, which is already there. Basket, personalized, Easter. So even though they're not all one right after another, it still has the same effect. And we want to end with the location as well, just to kind of bring it all together. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't been using images. I haven't been making things bold, italic. I haven't added H2 tags, H3 tags. I haven't been doing any of that. I don't know if you guys have been experimenting or doing anything with that, but I've tried to keep my content as minimal as possible. I guess basically what I've been trying to do is how little can I get away with and still get good results, because each of those things are they add up. The fact that you have to think about, okay, where do I put in an H2, where do I put in an H3, where do I find an image to put into here, that kind of stuff. It all adds up. So little by little I've been just taking things out and seeing what can I get away with, and it seems like I haven't had a negative effect by not having an image, by not having I don't have an authority outbound link. I don't use H2s or anything like that. So, have you guys been taking those away as well, or have you stick to doing
No, we'll
everything
we'll
else?
actually do a lot of testing. So we'll do some where it's just a naked article, sort of like this, with no spinning. Then we'll do some articles that have a ton of spinning. Then we have articles that we'll do that we always, I always like to put in my H2s. My H1 is usually my title. My H2, my H3, my H4. I always use the H2, H3, and H4, and I always just use LSI keywords for those. And I just find a break, in the paragraph, and I plop it right in there. I'll test with spinning them, and then versus not spinning them. Like I said, we'll test with as far as don't spin any content versus spin everything. We do very well. We it seemed that we've been doing a lot better with just certain tests, but like nothing that I feel. I'm still waiting for like the absolute winning combination. We have a couple that I think are winning combinations, but once again, I don't like to get beat up before I have a real decent time period to be able to test things over and then feel 1,000%. But we really haven't had the de-indexing issues that people have had. I don't know. People keep having de-indexing issues, so we don't have them.
Hmm.
But I we do we do put videos on there because we use Index Assault. So Index Assault. Somebody asked a question, and we'll get to all the questions shortly. If you have them, just keep plugging them in, and then we'll get to all of them. But what we'll do is Index Assault as part of the SEMeasy plugin. It actually installs an optimized YouTube video. At least what YouTube feels is just like you did with your search for your Easter basket articles. It's what YouTube thinks is most relevant for the keywords that we're looking to target, and it embeds them into each one of the posts, and then it pings Google and it pings Bing and everything else. So we do put a video on every page. um, or at least a good portion of the pages. And we just test with a lot of different things. And what I've also found, Andres, is that different niches will respond differently to different builds.
Right.
Uh, it's not like I can just say, look, this is the same across the board. SEO to me is sort of like an art, a little bit more than it is possibly a science. Um, I really like to dig into, and I take a lot more time if I'm going to build out, a lot of sites within a niche. I really want to do some research on that, on those keywords on the local level. I think where most people fail is that they go, oh, I'm going to get into payday loans, and like they never even check. They never even
Yeah.
check to see what's going on the local level first. Um, you wouldn't go out and build a website and try and optimize it for a broad-based keyword if you didn't do some sort of research. The research that we do here is just very different. I like to take a look in each one of the industries and just see how tough is it. Do I need to add map listings and images and schema markups and all sorts of other things to the pages, or can I get away with just a nice, quick, simple build? And then what I'll do is I'll also A/B test as I'm building them out, and I'll give them 2 or 3 days to see how they all start to pan out, and then make my decision about what I need to do with the rest of my builds.
Right.
So I don't really run into it as fast as once I know that it's a good niche, then I'll go crazy with it. But I always do a little bit of research ahead of time, and I think that that's one thing in this type of SEO of SEO tool sets and everything else that people kind of fail just to even take a look and see what's going on, what their competition levels are going to be like before they start jumping right into it.
And see, I take slightly different approaches. I build first and then check up later. Meaning, I'll go into it and I'll put out the 5 or 10, and within a week or two, I'll get a good idea of what they're doing. If it's something I need to modify. The whole what is it, fire, aim, fire kind of setup where you do something just to kind of get some action going, and then kind of backtrack and adjust course if you need to. But a lot of times, that it's the action that that people fail to take. So that's that's my mentality with it. But I do absolutely get what you're saying, and for
Yeah,
in your setup, it might be a little bit different because you do have a client that's expecting some kind of results.
and that's exactly it.
Right.
Andres, I unfortunately I don't get with how we do everything. We don't get much of a chance to pick our keywords. Like I can't say, all right, I'm just going to go into this affiliate niche. I'm going to go into this. I mean, we're doing this for clients, so like I got to kind of know before I set a client expectation what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
So
totally makes sense. Yeah, definitely. When you mentioned the research and everything, I started feeling that it was going over to the client area because a lot of pretty much everything that I do for myself now, it's just I'm either an affiliate or a partner or whatever reason, but I'm not working for a client. So I can just pick and choose what I want to get into, and and it allows me to do a lot of testing too because I end up just jumping into the most random markets just to see what happens traffic wise. But that it's kind of how it started, just basically testing all different random things. And I would have sites. I know that I've mentioned this a couple times, but I've had sites that will have like education banner on the top, and it was an HCG diet type site or Garcinia Cambodia diet, just because I took a template that I used on another site, put it out just to see what it would do, forgot about it, and then come back to it because it's getting 100 hits a day, and I needed to make some money off of it. But it was one of those things where I put out the site first and then decided to come back. Once I was actually getting traffic or getting results, that's when I took the time to pretty it up or decide where I was going to funnel the traffic to. Um, so that I guess my thing is you got to take some kind of action. Um, you're not going to get anywhere by not taking action. So you've got to take action, and don't get too overwhelmed with anything. Just try to just kind of block out all the noise, get something done, and you can adjust course as you're going based on the feedback that you're getting. And it's one of the best ways to learn is, you're learning with your own testing what's working, what's not working, instead of just kind of going based off even what I say. I use what I say as a guide, but kind of make your own opinions and everything as you go on. And one of the things that frustrates me in this industry is I was checking out one of the Facebook groups earlier this week, I believe, and somebody was asking a question about, I think, dealing with subdomains and subfolders. What was the best setup? And so everybody was giving their opinions, but it seemed like everybody that had a definitive fact, or this is definitely the way to do it. It was always followed by, because I read it here, because I read it from this blog post, because these people said so. And I think I remember, I think I chimed in a little bit and said, just do your own testing. Like Andrew and I could pretty much set up things exactly the same, and we'd end up with completely different setups. That's Google. I mean, we'd end up with completely different results. That's just how Google is. And so, and we wouldn't know that had we not tested. And if I go ahead and, I get some certain results, I write a blog post about it. Everybody starts following things the way I do it, and then Andrew writes a blog post about it, and people do things the way, it doesn't mean either of us are wrong. It's just those were the results we happen to get. But that's what a lot of those blogs do, is they're just writing about the results. Doesn't mean that that's necessarily fact. You've got to form your own ideas. You got to do your own testing. You can't just follow things blindly and not form your own conclusions from your own test. If I would
I
have
mean,
listened to,
I don't know of any two SEOs that do everything exactly the same way. I mean, I could tell you that when it comes to broad-based SEO, I've gone heavy back into directories again because I've seen every single person in a specific niche. They all had directory listings, and I just copied exactly all the directory listings that they had. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like and then you go to another niche, and nobody's doing that. So, I mean, yeah, you got to test, you got to see what's work, and you got to also be very nimble and expect that, what works right now is not going to work even in a
tomorrow.
month or two from now. You're going to have to tweak it.
Right.
It's not that it changes so drastically, but it changes enough that the fact that you don't want to be doing exactly the same thing all the time. And once again, every niche I find, Andres, is slightly different as far as what we do with our builds. I could kill it in one industry, and then I go over to another one, and I build it the same exact way, and all of a sudden I'm not getting the same type of results. So the next build, I'll tweak it, and then all of a sudden I start seeing, the results are dramatically better. So then I just know in that niche, okay, this is what I have to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything with Google is just testing. I mean, I feel like even if all of your websites are doing amazingly well, you're still in testing stage, because you're testing out what's working right now. Within a few weeks, within a few months, things could change. And like you said, they don't change a whole lot. So it's not like you gotta, you have your whole business is done with. But you do have to adapt if you want to stay in this for the long run. I've ever since I've been involved with Google, it's always been, it's a game. You've always got to kind of adapt to their setup, and I just like to take the approach that I like to bend the rules as much as possible, as much as they allow me to. And so, the whole duplicate content thing, I pushed it to the limit to see what would happen there, and form my own opinions on it. And because had I listened to what the guru SEOs were saying at the time of duplicate content, SERP Shaker would have never even come about. Local Pages Ninja would have never come about. But I didn't develop that idea from just reading what the gurus were saying. I developed that idea by finding other websites that were doing very similar setup. I did the setup manually, literally just copying and pasting. So what SERP Shaker does, I used to do it with a text document, copy and paste, search and replace, copy and paste, search and replace
Absolutely.
for cities. Figured out that it worked for like 50 or so cities at a time. Made me very good money with clients back then, because I could come in and say, you want a service area completely blanket it, you got it. and all my clients were happy. But that's where that whole technique came about, and to this day still works. But it all came about because I saw other sites that were getting those results. It went completely against what people were teaching in SEO, but it just went ahead and tested it myself and saw that I was able to get those same results too. So to finish things up here, so that we have a few minutes for question, we've got the article. There's a few functions within SERPshaker where we can interlink post. I've been testing that, doing the interlinking. I still do the random post, so that way we get like a number of random posts down at the bottom. That way it kind of helps, excuse me, with the indexing. But the way that the random posts work, um, they're based on a category. So I got to make sure that I set up a category for my post here. And I've just been using the category as state, so that we end up with the 50 different categories for the states. And every city will be associated with the correct category. And so now we add the random post, and we just add them based on state. We also have a feature where you can add a Google map, you can add the weather or the YouTube video, but I'm going to be using Index Assault on this, so I don't need to worry about the YouTube video because Index Assault will add that for me. The Platinum SEO pack, this is just your regular SEO plugin. This is what shows up in the search results. So we're going to take a variation of that slug that we used at the top and just kind of put it on here. So buy personalized Easter baskets in city, state, short, SIP. Same thing with the description. Looking for customized Easter baskets in city, state, get. Oh.
Now, guys, as Andres is putting the description in here, it is extremely important, the description. I can't even stress it enough. People will argue all the time, and they'll say, well, the description doesn't really make your website rank. And I tell them all the time they're wrong. The description, under most set of circumstances, will be what shows up as the snippet in the search engine result pages. The higher your click-through ratio, the more the site will rank. This is what you're hoping, shows up. Sometimes Google does some strange things, and they don't follow this description at all, and there's nothing you can do about it. But like I said, the more that somebody clicks on your website, the more it ranks. The more they click on it from a specific location, the better chance you have to show up for broad-based keywords in that location with these types of sites. We're seeing it all the time now. So like I said, you really want to nail down this description. You really want to make sure that the description is really good clickbait.
Right. If the areas where I would spend the most of my time is the slug, the H1 title, which is this one right here, and then the title and description as well, because those are the ones that are going to, at least those are the ones that I feel lead to the ranking the most, especially the slug and the H1 title, and then these because of the click through. So you definitely want to put, like you said, clickbait type stuff. There's sometimes when, depending on the service, I'll do something like get free, and I'll put in one letter, so something like get free, and then dot dot dot. You kind of leave them hanging, because you want.
But you definitely want to have the city and state in there, so somebody knows that it's specifically targeted to that area. Once again, it doesn't help you to rank, but the clicks that you're getting in the SERPs help your website to rank.
Right, and it also kind of makes it stand out, though, when you're looking at these
Absolutely,
SERPs.
it does.
When you're looking at the SERPs, I mean, look at, for example, here we did the Adak Alaska search. Notice how those keywords end up being bold. So you want to make sure you've got those keywords in there, or the city, because if they're going to be searching for the city, you want them to be bold and stand out.
Absolutely.
And let's see, the only thing we're missing here is the tags. So that's where you would do, a little bit of keyword research, try to find out what other things you can do. I'm just going to do some generic ones associated with this. We'll do personalized gifts, city, state. Always put when you're creating the tags, always add the city state to them. Don't
Yeah,
do
we can't.
just general tags.
Andres, just scroll down a little tiny bit. We can't see where you're putting that in right this sec. Just for everybody else out there.
I'll move it over.
Okay,
Okay.
there you go. Got it.
I'm sure. I'm guessing the GoToWebinar thing is blocking it. All right. So we've got personalized gift, city state. We've got customized
Yeah. Easter
Easter
gift.
baskets, city state. We'll do Easter baskets by itself, city state. So this is where you want to have like 8 or 10 or so. I'm just going to leave it with 3. And then that's it for this. So I'm just going to save draft. And for the sake of time, I'm going to set it to just do 100. So you can see what that ends up looking like. And then at this point, once the posts are done, that's when you end up redirecting the traffic. So we've got, we ended up with the post here, just wherever the city state is, it gets replaced. The same exact content in all the pages. And no, I know that question's going to pop up. Am I going to get hit with some kind of duplicate content penalty from using the same exact article? You're not.
It's in there already.
It already popped up.
Yeah, that question's already in there. We'll get to all the questions in a minute.
But no. I mean, it's been proven over and over and over again with these sites. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of Surf Shaker sites out there right now, from Holly alone. But there's just so many different Surf Shaker sites where it's basically the same exact article repeated thousands of times on your site, and all that changes is the location, and yet they still rank. Now, as we go forward, are we going to have to get a little bit more creative with things? I don't know. But up to this point, everything's working great, has been working for the past 3, 4, maybe 5 years now, doing it this way. I do know that people like to spin their article and do extra things with it, and you've tested that stuff before. Personally, I do zero spinning. I just do it like that. But it's, just depending on how much in depth you want to get with it. But, basically once you have your site built out, you just jump over to the Easy plugin, and I believe my theme is corrupt, so I don't know if it's going to give any issues. I may have to re-download the 25th theme that I have on here. But we just go to double agent, and we add it as a site wide, right?
Yep.
Site wide.
That will cover every single page. Now, there's a bunch of different things as far as the overlay goes. I mean, the one thing I can say is that I've actually overlaid my money site directly in Double Agent and have had that up there for 3.5, almost 4 years. I never had a problem. To be safe, I don't like to really do that much anymore. What I will do is I will create either a landing page, or like I'll just put another, I'll just scrape the, you know what, you're having if you go over to, no, you got to go to, Andres, if you go to your shaker pages.
Yeah.
And go down to,
Is it
or
my
maybe it's on your
troubleshooting that
setup.
I've got?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I think I got to flush. Now, are there certain sites that wouldn't allow you? Because I was trying to overlay the personalization mall or whatever.
Yep. There are certain sites that won't let you. If A lot of it has to do with, for instance, like Amazon won't let you. There are other websites that just won't let you. I know that Jake has a tool that he can test and see if it's the website or if it's not the website. I'll get that information from him.
Okay.
Yeah, there are certain websites that just don't allow you to overlay. So what we'll do in a case like that? What's that?
What's the URL you're trying to use?
This personalizationmall.com.
Personalizationmall.com.
Andres, you just like totally gave my niche out that I've been doing, but that's okay. I won't build my sites now.
Yeah, they don't allow their website to be an AI firm.
Oh, okay.
Now, what I can tell you guys is that like there are a couple of other plugins that I'll use out there. I don't want to do all the different horns. There's Video Jacker, there's Absolute Jacker. There's a couple of really good pieces of software that just allow you to clone a page. Or what you can do is you can just do view source and just grab the HTML code, create an HTML page, and upload it to your website and overlay that page. Usually what I'll do is I'll buy one domain, put in the robots.txt file, not to index out that website, so it's under no index, and I'll just take an HTML page, I'll upload it to the website, the domain, and boom, be done with it. That's a really safe way to be, because all those links stay intact. All of them are funneling to one place in a no index, and then safely allows you to go out to the website that you want seamlessly.
Right. And like I said, I probably have something corrupt on my site here, because when I tested it earlier, it worked fine on another site. But this was just I didn't want to show that other site because it is a live site. So this one, which is a live site, but it at least is one that I don't care if I lose.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's basically at that point you would do the double agent setup, and then somebody asked about how would you index all these out. I mean, we've got index assault in here, so we would just use index assault, which this one I have used extensively.
It's so funny that there are lots of different ways to index. Holly's got a great indexer. We use this as well, and I know that Holly has used this as well, and I've also used Holly's indexer. I like Holly's indexer because there's a lot of really cool things to be able to choose with as far as when we're link building and we want to get stuff even indexed off our site and stuff like that. I can use Holly's indexer, which is really wild. But once again, I mean, you got to get the site. I love to get the site kickstarted a little bit. Even with these sites, I mean, we've built them and we've just let them sit, and we haven't done anything to them, and Google picks them right up as well. But I got to be honest with you. I like to be able to show my client, like, hey, look, man, we got stuff ranking for you the same day, and it kind of blows them out of their seats, and at least it makes the trust factor go sky high, So,
Right.
And then the rest of them, if I want, I can let them sit or whatever else. But index assault still works great. Like I said, as far as overlaying websites, somebody was asking about, we might not want to put our money site on there. One of the easiest ways to do it, like I said, we'll just grab a view source, grab all the HTML, save the HTML page, and upload it to a website. Boom, it's done. Or you can use plugins that allow you to just clone out a page. And we do quite a bit of that as well. It all depends on, if you want to buy a plugin, if you don't want to buy the plugin, exactly what you want to do. If you want to edit some of the stuff on the page, there's one plugin that's better than another. We do like to be pretty much safe note when we're working with a client. We really don't want a client's website to be put in harm's way, but I've told you I put my own website right there, and I never had a problem at all. So, but when dealing with a client, I really don't want to, I don't want to take the same chances with a client.
And I'm just
So I'm just going to go through some of the questions while you're doing this, Andre.
I'm just running it through index assault so that I see how quickly we can get it indexed maybe while we're talking here. No promises, but Never know. But yeah, go ahead and start shooting the questions over. Let's.
Okay, so it says it was noted in a Facebook group that it's not a good idea to overlay your money site. Well, we kind of addressed that, and like I said, what I would do is I would really, I think a nice, safe way to do it is to clone out a page or create, a landing page or whatever you want. Overlay that. All those links are live, going back to the website that you want to really push the traffic to. And what you do is you just make that domain that you purchased, it could be a .xyz. You're not worrying about it getting de-indexed. Actually, you hope it stays de-indexed because of the fact that, you don't want Google to find it. So, like I said, you keep it on a no index, and we just use that as like a landing page, gallery for us. How do you get the whole site indexed? Well, you can go with Holly's index. All right, look at this, 9 pages already. What's it called? You can get you can use Holly has an indexer. We have Index Assault as part of SEMeasy. What you really want to do is you just want to trigger those spiders. Once those spiders come in, they start just tearing up the site. Somebody says unbelievable lag and delay with video plus stream. Yeah, there's.
I got. I was gonna say I got 24 sites indexed or 24 pages on that website indexed already on my end here.
That's awesome.
As soon as you do the search, it's going to cache you locally.
Yep.
Somebody's got an echo going.
I've got headphones in.
All right. Somebody's asking about outbound links, best strategy. Andres, Holly, I don't use any outbound links.
I don't either, no. I don't want to run into the risk of sending too many links to a particular site that can't handle it and then them disavowing the links as well.
Yep.
So, I mean, the only time that I would, if it's like maybe to Wikipedia, but even then, maybe not, or like a government type site. But for the most part, I don't put outbound links anymore. Authority outbound links, I don't.
I don't use any of them. Somebody asked, is there a duplicate content issue? No, we kind of addressed that. Like I said, I like to spin a lot of the content. I'll also play around with just putting up the content just like Andres did. No, I mean, if there was a duplicate content issue, these things wouldn't rank at all. Let me just take a quick look here. What is it, citysite.xyz?
Yeah, citysite.xyz.
All right, so I mean, you'll know if there's a problem with the website right out of the gate. I'm just checking something here real fast. As soon as it starts to index, okay, I have 100 indexed here. What I do is, as soon as it starts to index, I start checking the first handful. I want to see where they rank. So I just did buy personalized Easter baskets in Gustavus, Alaska, just because it was the first one on a site colon. Here, Andres, just do a site colon on your site.
Mine shows 9 results. That's because I did it right.
You cached it.
Yep.
And if anybody doesn't understand what that means, basically what happens is once you do a search, your local cable provider doesn't want to keep going back and doing that same search. They're going to cache the results.
Oh, I just updated. Okay, so I had just done it and it was 9, and now it's showing 100, which is I only built out 100 posts, so all 100 are fully indexed.
Oh, there you go. So just grab one of them. Just you know what I do, Andres? I go by and I just highlight. I don't even grab the zip code. I'll just put in like the town, and then I just you're on a Mac, so you could just do search Google for that. Yep.
Yeah, it's at the top.
So, I mean, it's really you know that it's not a duplicate content issue because that's exactly what you're looking to rank for, and that's what you're ranking for.
Right, and usually with these kind of sites, we noticed right away that we weren't going to have any competition. So if
Right.
we were to index it out like we just did, and we search for the keyword, but yet it wasn't found on this first one, then that's when you kind of go back to the drawing board and say, okay, maybe I should have manipulated the content a little bit better. Maybe I do need to add an image, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Because if we're going against zero competition, we should be the number one result like we are right now. If we
You
were
know what I've
not,
also, Andres, you know what I've also found? I've also found that sometimes, and Jake will attest to it, like we just buy a domain name and there must have been some history or something
oh yeah,
because Google just didn't like that domain name, period.
yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that happens. I mean, it won't happen with an XYZ. You're just not going to have any history on an XYZ, at least this year. Next year, next year,
Next,
I don't think next year you want to be buying XYZs because the history that's going to be with the XYZs, excuse me, it's not going to be good.
no,
But with .coms, especially if you're like, oh, this is a really good domain name, because it's got your keywords or whatever, more than likely somebody had it at one point, completely messed it up. So it has history with Google, and they hold on to that history for a long time. I mean, look at why PBNs are so successful. You buy a PBN that used to be an authority site 5 years ago, and it still has that authority. So that history stays with the domain for a long time. And unfortunately, there was a lot of sites that we bought thinking we were being brand new, and the site went nowhere. We would clone the same exact site. All that changed was a domain name, and the site would take off like crazy. So yeah, I
yep,
definitely have seen that as well.
absolutely. Next question: are you still adding maps? I know that I add maps. I like the maps on the page. Um,
I do
I get
both. I do yes and no for the most part. See, a lot of my setup now, my themes have a lot of that stuff hard coded into it, like the maps, the weather, the
right.
random post. So I forget to add it into the content because I don't need to anymore. But yeah, and for the most part, I add the maps. It's just an extra thing to bring it down to the local level to make it relevant. How I mentioned that we're already starting out with a really good article, but all we have to do is make it relevant to that city. Map is one of those ways to do that.
Well, just so you know, if you add a map listing, you have your YouTube video on there, and you have a link to the weather, let's say. Somebody was asking about authoritative links out. Um, Google's still going to look at those as links, and they're authoritative. They are about as authoritative as it gets. They're not viewed as exactly the same as a hyperlink, but you're still linking out to something that's being brought back in a frame and being displayed on the page.
Right, and
And once
and you're providing, if you're thinking about user experience, and like Google likes to think, you're giving people content from all these different websites that you're, using the user experience. You're going after that whole setup. So
next question. No image slash video. Andres, how many times I don't add any images at all. Like I said, we do add the videos.
for the
We don't.
past
I don't
year,
do images.
I don't think I've done video. I don't think I've done images. I I I I felt like I was taking too big of a risk because first of all, I mean, the volume of sites that I'm doing, it was gonna kill into the profits to get royalty free, actually purchase the royalty free images to use them. And so a lot of times I was doing a Google search for an image and just kind of saving it. And I felt like, the whole Getty Images thing, I'm like, I'm eventually going to get hit with as many sites as I have. So I just kind of not stopped putting them in,
Yeah.
and it didn't affect the build. So it's one of those things where I think around that time was when I started testing, like, okay, if I can get away with not doing an image, which everybody says you need to have an image, and all of a sudden I don't have an image and I'm still ranking, what else can I get away with not adding that's taking up my time? So,
Not only time, but space.
right.
Server space and load time as well on the sites, and not only my time as far as trying to put the thing together, but like I said, load time and and server space and everything else. We
And
just cut
then
them out.
and there's solutions where you can use S3, but then you end up tying all of your sites together with the same S3 setup,
Yep.
unless you got a different S3 account. Because no matter, even if you change the bucket name, or actually you could change the bucket name, but then it gets, you can only have up to 50 buckets. So it just, there's no way to scale with it if you're going to be storing the images elsewhere, and it was just a pain to handle. So we just completely got
Absolutely.
rid of it.
Next question: how do you get these sites indexed with Bing? I've tried natural and index assault. Google equals no problem. Bing equals it's a bitch. Um, well, the best way I can answer this is that they will over time index in Bing. It is, Google's looking for completely different stuff than Bing in some respects as far as rankings go. I can rank anything in Bing with the right amount of links. Not worrying about penalties, not worrying about all that other sort of stuff. Bing looks heavy at links. Google looks somewhat heavy on links when you're talking about broad terms and really competitive terms. But on this long-tailed stuff, they don't look at they really don't look at it like that. They look at it as the information that they can digest for their knowledge graph. Bing is still looking for those links. And if you really want to, if you're really worried and you only have a handful of sites, if you want to build a handful of links back out to those networks that you've created, or those funnel sites that you've created, or the shaker sites that you created, it will actually help the process with indexing in Bing a lot faster. They will eventually. What's that?
No, I was just gonna say I posted like 2 or 3 weeks ago about GSA and our group and the Facebook group, because one of the tests that I want to run, and maybe somebody else can also take off with it, is take some of those de-index sites that we have in Google and just blast them with exact match anchors using GSA or one of those tools. Blast them and see how they end up, what ends up happening in Bing. Because I mean, we've already lost them in Google, so it doesn't matter. But I would, just theory alone, I would imagine they're going to have really good. It's going to have a really good result to Bing indexing and also ranking on it. But I just haven't gotten around to testing it. But definitely,
that's really cool. You're right, Andres. That's actually a really great test.
Just
Hey, Andres,
what's that?
you can export if you have a list of URLs, from a shaker page or a site,
Uh-huh.
and just put that in something like GSA, Money Robot, even Scrapebox, and you can run links to it, and within 24 hours it'll be number one on Bing.
That's
It's
awesome.
about the mass links. That's what Bing wants to see. So that's what
You're
we
saying
do.
that just
If we lose something,
don't just build links to the homepage, but build links to every
yeah,
single individual post.
yeah, that's what we do. And you can do that with GSA, you know.
I gotta do a test like that. I'm assuming, I'm based on what you said, that it's gonna have really good results. So it's you know, one of the things you
Andre,
could do is build one specific for Google and one specific for Bing. The second you launch it, start launching links at the Bing one, it's gonna get slapped in Google, but at least you'll get your Bing out of it. So that way you can kind of take advantage of
Yeah,
both search engines.
yeah,
yeah,
it works really good.
Andres, I'd give you a couple domains, but we really rarely get de-indexed.
I got plenty of them.
But yeah, no, I'm going to jump in on that test with you guys. That sounds pretty cool.
So I'll probably be rolling that out in the next week or two. So maybe in one of the next webinars we could be talking about that.
Doug wants to know, how do we measure traffic to these sites? Doug, I will let you in on my little secret. I still use Bitly, but what I'll do is I'll use Bitly going out to my de-indexed, or I should say not de-indexed because it was never indexed to begin with, my non-indexed landing page. So in Double Agent, I'll just put in my Bitly link, which is heading right out to my page. simple. Either that or you can create a URLs. If you're not familiar with URLs, URLs is it's like a domain shortener that you can put on your own domain, and it allows for tracking and everything else. It's just the amount of clicks that are going through. And once again, I still kind of keep it like that. I know that there are people that like to put Piwik and everything else on their sites. I just don't like to have those types of footprints. I just stay away from them. Somebody might say that the Bitly link is a footprint. So be it. I haven't gotten hit with it yet, and other people have tried other things and they've gotten hit. So I stick with what I know works for me, and that's really how I track it. I just say how many clicks came through this Bitly link, because and that's it.
Now,
So that's how.
I will say that the new Piwik setup that they have, especially and their plugin, they use a new proxy setup. So every single site, the tracking code ends up being basically the URL of the site. So it kind of got rid of that footprint.
No, there used to be a horrible footprint, and yes, I have seen that, but I got to say that I haven't gotten around to playing with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of like an old dog, I feel very comfortable with the Bitly, and it makes it nice and easy, and I can also give it to my customer, and they can actually take a look at the stats themselves if they so choose to.
Right. But yeah,
And
the way I track everything through Piwik, but that's just like the same way that's what I've been doing for many years now, and for a long time I had my own customized kind of Piwik setup where I could use the same exact tracking code on every single site. Huge footprint, but I didn't care because I wanted to at least be able to see traffic.
Right.
Never affect the footprint never affected any of my sites, anyways. But recently, there's this really cool dashboard that's out there, but that sets up Piwik automatically for you. But that's what I've been using is the setup and within my own dashboard to track all the sites to get the traffic data that way. But all you want to see is hits. So whether it's Bitly or Piwik or something, you want to be able to just see how much traffic is coming through. Definitely don't worry. I know a lot of people are will ask is how do we know if it's ranking or not, or how can we check the ranking for 30,000 cities? Don't look at ranking, look at traffic. That's the perfect correlation of ranking. If you're getting traffic, you're ranking. If you're not getting traffic, you're not ranking.
Well, I'll be honest, Andres, with my Bitly, like I'll take a look, and if all of a sudden the traffic just drops to zero, I know that like a website has problem.
Right.
We've had problems where like all of a sudden I'm like, holy cow, we de-indexed and it wasn't. The server was offline.
Right.
Like,
the server's offline or WordPress update killed something. Yeah, it happens all the time.
Actually, I had to contact Jake last night because I killed a WordPress site updating something. All right. Is there any way to get the meta description? So why do you guys set up 10 sites? Are you doing a set of cities/states per site, or are they different keywords for each site?
Different keywords.
It really depends on. I'm going to say it depends on what you're trying to do. Sometimes I want to dominate the whole page. Sometimes I want to hit different keywords. Sometimes I want to set up different geo-targeted areas. But I like to set up multiple sites because I'll do different types of builds each time. And also sometimes one site just won't rank very well and another one will. So.
Yeah, and when I originally said 10 sites, and I believe the person asking is that, I think it's the same exact one that owns the personalized business. But the reason I said the 10 sites was because you are going to go after different keywords. If you're sticking with the generic national build, the 30,000 cities that I showed, then for this one we did personalized Easter baskets. The next one you may do personalized graduation gifts. The next one personalized Mother's Day gifts, personalized Father's Day gifts. You've got so many different niches and ways that you can go after that you'll end up with more than 10 sites. I just kind of said that as a starting point, but as you start building this out, as you start driving the traffic, you're going to notice that you're going to like the traffic that's coming into your site. So you're going to end up with more than 10, but 10 will be a good starting point.
Right. I always start with 10, and then I, will watch the traffic, and if I see something that I'm like, wow, I need more, then I'll build up to like the one I'm doing right now, we have 100 XYZ domains, and we had 6,000 hits yesterday. So if you find something that you can scale up, and I think the end, the end point is really what are you trying to get out of it? Like it's easy to scale. It's $1 for a domain, and it's do content, but who really cares?
88 cents.
Yeah, 88 cents, right? Yeah.
Sorry to jump in here, but I actually have a 2:30 phone call I got to jump on, so I'll leave the rest up to you guys. And thanks for stopping by, everyone.
All
See
right,
ya.
Jake, we'll talk later.
Talk later, guys.
All right, bye-bye. Okay. Let's see. We got a few more questions. Let's try. Whoa, there seems like it keep on coming in.
Oh, yeah.
The list has been growing. Let's try to knock these out because we are approaching 2:30.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got the 10 sites, meta description on the tag pages, and if we don't include the SIP in the tags, won't we get duplicate post? I'm not sure about the meta description on tags. I think that tag pages end up being one of those where Google just kind of pulls from the content itself, and it's usually based around the keyword that the person types in. So that's why it's important to kind of have a lot of those variations in the content itself. Because if you happen to have that same exact variation, or at least a combination of it somehow in your content, and that's what the person typed in, then that's what ends up being bold in the description. So that's one of the ones that, with tags, you don't have a good way of manipulating that. The posts themselves, there's a good chance. But I mean, even if you look at here at the this particular site, they didn't for most of them they ended up using, well, I guess it's a mix. And some of them they use my description that I put in, and others they just use content from within the post itself. And if we don't include the SIP in the tags, once we get duplicate post on one tag, depends on how your list is set up. I've got my list set up where it's just one city, one city per SIP, or no, one SIP code per city. So that way I don't end up with duplicates. But some people have that list where they have pretty much every single SIP code for all the cities, and that way you will end up with duplicates if you don't put the SIP code in there. The tag words, should they be capitalized? Depending on the theme and the SEO plugin, sometimes the theme itself will capitalize it and show it correctly in the SERPs. For the most part, just to be safe, you do want to capitalize them. I didn't, just because I was going kind of quick. But you do, for the most part, you want to capitalize them. Otherwise, when they show up in the search results, they're just going to show up lowercase, which kind of kills CTR, just doesn't look very professional. So, I meant if not putting the SIP in the tag, you'll get more than one post. I think I answered that one.
Yeah.
Where's the money link? I'm not sure I understand that one.
I don't either. That's one of my competitors.
That's my niche too. 301 do similar. Are you using a 302 to redirect? I'm assuming this is talking specific settings on double agent. Do you guys do a 302, 301?
No, it's once again, everything changed once I started cloning out a page and putting it on a non-indexed website. Now I don't have to worry about any links at all except for one link going back to my website from a non-indexed page. So it almost becomes a non-issue at that point. At that point it becomes sort of a complete non-issue as far as having to worry about link juice flowing through or whatever else. That's really the safest way to do it. It said, would a 301 do similar? You know what happens? That these questions were asked a while back, like while we were in the middle of something. So
yeah,
I'm not
so some of we lost the context there. The next one here is, can you show how to use the source code to build the identical site that would not let you overlay with their site? We can do a separate training video on that. I can do something with that. because I've
Absolutely.
taken quite a, it's just copy paste and you make sure that you keep the same CSS files. But yeah, I can make a separate video for that and upload it to the members area. And
It
somebody was
says, what
asking
about,
if we make an image of the front page of your money site for
I
overlaying.
don't, I can tell you, I don't like to take an image of the front page of the site, and the reason is it's no longer mobile friendly. So I don't like to do that. What I do like to do is I like to just take the source code and either create an HTML file or use a plugin that will automatically transfer it into a page for me on a de-indexed website or non-indexed website. I keep saying de-indexed, but de-indexed is like bad,
Hmm.
Non-indexed is not. So are you building sites to create? Are you buying sites to create your 10 sites?
If you mean buying domains, then yeah, we just buy 10
Yes.
domains.
Yep.
Can be XYZ, can be any of the other cheap extensions, doesn't have to be .com. So, when
Uh,
you think about 10 .com sites, that's $100, but 10 XYZs, that's $10. So, start out with XYZs. If you're making money, if you feel that .coms are going to get you a little bit better results, then, once you're making money, go ahead and jump into the .coms. But now with the XYZs and all the other extensions that are very, very cheap, I start my test off, for under $1 because I rather test with $1 than 10. And then, if it makes sense, then jump on to the more expensive .com, .net, .org. But for the most part, we'll start out with the cheapest way possible. Where I'm very um, bootstrap type setup.
frugal.
Yep, I'll start I'll make sure that the business pays, the websites pay for themselves and pay for more domains before jumping into buying more and more and more.
Says which weather widget do you use now since the default weather widget has not been updated for some time?
I still use the same one included with Surfshaker. I know that the website that we grabbed the weather data from, I guess somebody bought it out and just killed all functions that has to do, but the widget still works. So the weather still shows on the site. It still shows the location where the weather's from. It's obviously not accurate data, but I haven't seen any negative effect to it. And so I still use that one. Otherwise, there's also Weather Underground. It's a plugin that works very well with the Surfshaker type setup because all you have to do is you add their W Underground short code. I believe it's W Underground, and then you just add the zip code to it or the city that you're targeting. It's one of the few weather widgets that you can target by city name or zip code. So it works perfect with that.
Next question. What are your biggest mistakes you think people make in building SS sites? Andres, I can give you my top three if you want to think about yours for a second. All right, number one, they don't properly take a look and see what their competition levels are before they even jump in. I think that's one of the big mistakes that I see. Second is over optimization, and B is overthinking the hell out of it and just not doing it.
Right.
Um,
That was gonna be my number one is overthinking. Because I get a close look at the questions and everything that come through the help desk and the support desk. Um, and it's you with if you're brand new to this kind of setup where you're basically starting to go more to the gray black side of things of SEO, you've got to take a step back and kind of ignore everything that you've read up to this point and heard up to this point, or even maybe experienced if you were building an authority type site up to this point, and just kind of blindly follow at first what I say or what we teach, and Andrew and all of us with these kind of setups. And once you've finally taken action, then start kind of formulating your own opinions. But I would say, besides overthinking, is jumping right into something like this where you're brand new to it and start making your own tweaks right away, right on the first build. Um, and that seems that a lot of people run into issues with that is is they'll start applying their own tweaks based on their own experience, which may be legitimate tweaks, but it kind of messes up the process that we've kind of got in place for Surfshaker type sites. So I suggest, kind of first following it along, doing it as simple as possible, and then kind of adding the building blocks to it and just building on top of it, but not changing things up right out of the gate. That was two. So I would say number three is not testing enough. That, like you said, the two niches could react completely different. And, if you do things like, for example, I ended up ranking number one with this personalized Easter baskets. I could try another niche and same exact setup and get zero results. And that doesn't mean that the process doesn't work. It's just we've got to tweak it. So you've got to be able to be willing to do those tests and learn. And that's testing and doing things for yourself. Best way to learn.
Okay.
Building links to get sites to index and Bing homepage or handful of posts. Well, Holly said every single post pretty much. So just extract the list of posts from the Shaker site and drop it into GSA. I don't know what GSA stands for. I just know it's one of those link building tools. Somebody might ask, the next question is, what is GSA?
It's just a freaking mass link building tool that I mean, Holly could do a whole thing on GSA one day. It's a mass link building tool. There is a learning curve to it, and there's a lot of resources that need to go into it. You need to really have the right servers. You need to have the right proxies. You really need to have the right lists to go into GSA. But it's like a scrape box poster on steroids is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, I could do a webinar on it. I love GSA.
Awesome.
Okay.
So now we've got another webinar there.
Someone was speculating RankBrain reduced the long tail traffic since it rolled out last fall. Result that this method still works, but generally speaking, less traffic per site, so you need to build more to get the same results since past fall.
I haven't noticed that. I mean, I've got some sites, one site itself, where it's getting 300 visits a day from like a dinky little long tail keyword. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys have picked that up, but.
Absolutely. Well, no, I haven't had the same problem. And to be honest with you, when people turn around and like I have a lot of our sites are completely overlaid. So somebody's like, oh, well, that's horrible because you have a 100% bounce rate because they don't move off that page at all. Well, Google doesn't seem to care because I don't put analytics on it. I sure as heck, this is another. Please don't put one of these websites into Google Webmaster Tools. I mean, I just think that that's absolutely absurd, and you're just asking Matt, it'd be like asking Matt Cutts to come over for dinner, offering him a glass of wine and saying, let me show you how I'm manipulating the living hell out of you. Don't put Webmaster Tools on these sites. That would be one of the big mistakes I would say that somebody would make. But no, I really haven't seen it. And once again, these sites are so easy to roll out that, the problem is that you get somewhat lazy with these types of sites. I mean, think about it. If you knew that, let's say, Andre says, a half hour, it takes us less time than that to roll out type of, the builds that we do. But let's say a half hour, okay? Let's say an hour. So you want to roll out 10 sites. So it takes you 10 hours to be able to dominate an entire niche. Let's say one of those doesn't perform. It takes you another hour. I mean, think about 1 hour going out and actually doing link building for a broad-tailed keyword, and it really doesn't even put a dent into what's going on, we become kind of spoiled once we have technology like this. And when you look at Surfshaker, the reason why I love Surfshaker so much was because most people don't even look at it. They look at it from the geo-targeted aspect, but they sure as heck don't look at it from you could just pile it up with a ton of keywords or product names or whatever else, and you could build out something completely different, where you're not geo-targeting, but you're product targeting or whatever you're doing, That's the beauty of it. So,
Yeah, there's a lot
You
of
know,
twists that you can put to it.
oh, there's so many different twists that you could do to it. It's just the problem is everybody looks at it one way and says, "Oh, this is the only way to do it." There's tons of different ways. Like I said, product model numbers and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's endless of what you can do with it. You just got to think outside the box a little bit. But no, I haven't seen that the long tails have been that long tail traffic has dropped actually at all. What do you use to host your sites? Um, we have
We've
our own
gone
server.
we've gone specifically with server pilot server type setup. The company that we use is Ho60, HOSIXI Sorry, I'm just gonna have to type it. Can't spell right now, but um, they are great. The guy that um, that runs it, I'm awesome with support, and he specializes in server pilot type setups, and that seems to have made a big difference. And no, if you've got a handful of sites, any kind of server type, any kind of host, you're gonna be okay. But we kept on running into issues because once you get above like 50 to 100 sites, we kept on crashing servers and stopped having issues ever since we moved to the server pilot setup. So I believe you guys have a specific setup just because Jake has background,
Right.
the technical background to run that. For the average person, um, going with the server pilot setup would be the easiest way.
Next question. How do you use Boss TDS? We're going to table that for another time because that would bring us at least another half
Hour
hour
and
to
a half.
45 minutes to an hour. Let's see. Also, what have you changed to avoid the de-indexing issue that has been a big problem since last fall? What I've done personally is I really make sure I don't over-optimize. I make sure that, like I said, I don't point. Um, I point everything to a no-indexed website with the overlay. We haven't really changed a whole lot in what we do, and we haven't had many problems at all. Um,
I,
you
I
know,
haven't I haven't changed a whole lot. I mean, I think a lot of it also had to do with how quickly we were buying domains.
oh, I
Um,
think that had a lot to do with it.
I mean, we were buying domains in chunks of 100 at a time, and it seems like all 100, no matter if whether we had a site on it or not, were gone. Um, so that kind of played a clue into it. So now we just kind of we throttle or domain buying and switch it up between XYZs and dot tops and dot um, space and whatever other ones are cheap. So I space it out and I don't try to buy domains in bulk. Um, One of the other things that we've been doing is we create a brand new Cloudflare account for every single site so that we get a unique set of name servers for every single site. Just depends on, if you've got the setup to be able to do that um, easily, if that would be feasible or not. We have an automated way of doing that. So that's why we're able to create thousands of Cloudflare accounts and be okay. So just, but definitely over optimization will be the main thing. And it kind of goes with one of the questions, somebody saying define over optimization. Over optimization is just using the same exact keyword over and over again. So like with personalized Easter baskets, if every single time that I mentioned Easter baskets, I had that same exact combination, personalized Easter baskets in the city, every single time, you know, multiple times
And what
on the
people don't even
page.
realize, Andre, is what they didn't even realize. What a lot of people they would create on their template and on their site, they would create you know, in their on the side, right? They're creating a menu, and it would be personalized Easter baskets in Alaska, personalized Easter baskets in Massachusetts, personalized Easter baskets in New York, and it would go through all 50 states. Well,
Right.
right there, you've over-optimized every single page on your entire website right out of the gate. You
Right.
know,
And we I did my sites like that like that way for a long time because it worked. But that's
But
one of those instances where we have to, we had to change.
I had
Um,
somebody, I couldn't figure out what happened, and I actually had a person with a fresh pair of eyes look at it. He was like, "Dude, you mentioned the same word 70 some odd times on your page," and I'm like, "No, I don't. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Take a look at your menus," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "I didn't even see that." Went
right,
in, I
because
took
you
word
you
out of
focus
the
on the
menus.
content itself, but when Google hits the site, they're reading the whole page with, the sidebars, the top menu, everything. So, if you just look at the content, you may be your keyword density would be 1%, and all of a sudden when you put it all together, you've got like 20% keyword density um, from
Exactly.
using it over and over again.
Says, so are you building on a land? So you're building on a landing page that's on a non-indexed, and then sending the overlay to it. Yeah, and I put a bit.ly in between there so I can track how many clicks are going through. I could actually show you guys how to do that on another webinar. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, because he
I'm
said
still not.
he was not clear in setting that up. So we
Yeah.
can do.
So basically, this is really simple. All right, we're talking about personalized Easter baskets. Okay, I might buy easterbaskets.xyz.com. Okay. I'd set up WordPress on it. I go down to settings. I go to reading. I go to discourage search engines from indexing this site. I click save. Now, any pages that I create on this website are not going to be indexed by Google. That's You got to do it basically right after you install WordPress. You don't want Google to start getting into the website and then waiting for them to not index it. To start taking it out of their index. So that's really all you need to do. Then there's a couple of plugins that will allow you to either, use a drop and drag builder if you want to just create a landing page yourself, or like I said, there's a couple of plugins that will allow you to just clone a page and make it a WordPress page, and then I just overlay that cloned page.
Or
So
if your current site happens to already be WordPress, your money site, then you can use something like Duplicator to take a duplicate copy of your current site, install it on this brand new site, and that's one way to kind of
absolutely.
copy it.
What I like to do, though, honestly, I like to keep one domain, and it has all of my. It'll have different landing pages for each campaign that I'm trying to do, just so I
Right.
can keep them in one place. But that's probably the safer way to do it, just because then somebody might scream, "Well, that's a footprint." If you have multiple sites going back to one website that's not indexed, yeah, I'll take my chances. There's a footprint with almost everything out there. You just got to
Right.
see how much of a footprint are you willing to.
Yeah. How comfortable are you with the footprint?
Exactly. All right. Are you using subdomains? We do use some subdomains, but I don't get crazy with it.
Um, Depends on the setup. We do both. For the most part, lately we've been building straight on root. Just depends on the strategy that we're going after.
You use unique IPs for hosting your websites. No, we don't. We push it through Cloudflare, and we don't worry about unique IPs. They're all sitting on the same server on the back end.
Yep,
That's what we do.
mine says Cloudflare as well. Multiple Cloudflare accounts.
Yep.
I have
Defining.
been using separate IPs, but I am testing Cloudflare because my first test didn't go well, and Andres is convincing me to try it again. So I'm trying it again. Otherwise, I have like 2,000 separate IPs. Yeah.
Also, is Cloudflare still the recommended approach for IP diversity? It's not really IP diversity. It's IP blinding. So they can't figure out your IP.
Right,
The
because
name.
I mean they only have a certain set of IPs. They have a ton of name servers. I mean their name server diversity is nuts. I mean we've created hundreds, sometimes even thousands of accounts before we get the same set of name servers again. So their name servers are all crazy, but the IPs, they only have certain ranges that Cloudflare works in, but it kind of blends you in with a ton of sites. So it kind of keeps you safe there. It's only one. I mean, it's one of the ways though. There's Encapsula, there's Rocket IPs, there's What's the other? I mean, you can go through the Amazon route. Oh, I forget what the Amazon Cloud Front. I believe it's Amazon's. Um,
I haven't used it yet.
it's more complicated, heck of a lot more complicated. I haven't gotten around being able to wrap my head around it. Encapsulize a little step up in the complication scale, I guess I would say, um, from Cloudflare. And one of the reasons we do use Cloudflare is because it is so easy. Um, but Encapsula does a good job as well. I don't have nearly as many sites on it, maybe just a handful because of it is a little bit more complicated to set up.
It says there are GSA gigs on Fiverr and Source Market if you want to test the waters. There you go. Do you put each site on a separate IP? I think we just covered that. To
Right.
avoid footprints, should we diversify our themes for a project? I could tell you that I don't. I like to hide in plain sight with like 2014, 2015, or 2013. That's what I do because I'm overlaying it, so it doesn't really make a difference what it looks like. But so many
Right.
people use those themes that it's not like I don't have a custom theme that I'm using that's going to stand out like a sore thumb.
Right. I mean, and sometimes going with those custom themes, you're putting a target on your site. Like for
Yeah.
a long time, I used that CTR theme, which is very, very popular, but still is nowhere near as popular as the 2014, 2015, and the ones that ship out with WordPress by default. So, you go from a pool of a couple million websites to maybe less than 100,000 or so. So it's better to go with those.
Okay, next is we're going to just blast through these last one. Costas is incredible. He responds and gets things fixed immediately, so there's a thumbs up for Costas. Can you make a second SS page using a different size shortcodes list?
Yes, but you would have to change them all up. Meaning, your shaker page right here is targeting city, state, short zip. You can add a new set of shortcodes, just name them differently. So whenever you create the shaker page, just use that second. So it could be like city 2, state short 2, zip 2, and it's just going
Right.
to use those specific shortcodes.
Okay. Do you need to use? Do you use these sites for AdSense? Do you overlay an AdSense money site or put AdSense code on the SS site directly? Um, I was probably one of the first ones that was using this with AdSense back in the day. We were making a killing. I never had a problem with it. There are some people that say that they're getting their AdSense accounts freaking deleted left and right because they were putting them on these pages. You can't overlay AdSense without thinking that you're going to have a problem. So you really kind of got to funnel people into your if you want to make the money with AdSense.
I put
I do.
AdSense directly on the site and never had an issue.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I made so much money with AdSense back in the day, to the point that I would get asked to show up and talk at the AdSense in your city and stuff like that. I don't really count on AdSense a whole lot for anything anymore. We're just too busy doing other things and just haven't had the time to jump in there and really continue to play with AdSense.
Holly hit like 250 on one site yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to pause my AdSense because I was panicking. It was going to be like $1,000 day, and I was like, okay, I can't have that on one day. So I had to pause it, and I had 430 clicks. I wish the CPC was higher, but it was just what I was targeting happening to be. But I also put my AdSense on every single page. And when I say every single page, I mean 180,000 pages has my AdSense code on it. And I don't care. I have so many AdSense accounts, and we keep track of how much money it makes. Like we don't let it go over $1,000, so I won't get a manual review. So we track a lot of the stuff, so we're on it.
Oh, that's weird. Hey, Andre, you still there?
Yes.
Okay. I think Holly sounded like Holly turned into R2D2 and dropped off a little bit there. All right. We're going to wait for her to come back, but it says, in the light of the crime flare issue, can someone do a video of how to set up a site so it doesn't show up there? Yeah, Doug, we can definitely we can try and find some time to do that. I really don't worry too much about crime flare. You know, they
Oh, I think he's meaning how to do it, how to set up Cloudflare to where your actual IP of your server doesn't show up on there, or your
oh,
actual and yeah, we can do a quick video, a separate video on that. Although with cPanel servers, you're gonna have a really hard time blocking everything because it ports like 2086 and port 2087, which are the cPanel and WHM ports. They're always going to be open, so it kind of makes it hard to block the IP on those, which is another reason why we moved to Server Pilot, because it doesn't use those ports, so that we can truly hide behind Cloudflare and be okay. But yeah, we can show best use or best practices for Cloudflare and whatnot. And then the last one is, do we use expired domains for SS sites? I have quite a bit lately. Um, I'm still testing things out, so I'm not quite ready to say whether it's a awesome idea or not. I've had very positive results, and I've had very so results as well. So let me continue doing testing before I say, if it's a great idea or not, and how specifically I'm doing it. Because I'm sure I'm doing it a little bit differently than the way most people would approach the whole expired domain setup. So maybe in like about a month or so, I'll have better data on that.
it says, would Super Cloaker 307 redirects be safe? If you know what you're doing with it, then yes, it could be safe. Um, but it's just like anything. If you don't use it correctly, then no, it's not. Um, but we don't have the time really to jump into that right this second. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of really cool things that you can do with that would make things super safe with Super Cloaker. Um, it says you were making a killing with AdSense. What happened? You know what? Jake and I have been busy building a monstrous company over the last year plus, and certain things got to give. I mean, I just don't have the time to do everything. So yeah, that was one of the things that gave. So that's it. Um, how does Holly get multiple AdSense accounts?
I have a source. If you go to adseng.com, I buy them for $25, and he makes them for me. I get them sent to me usually in less than 24 hours. Also, you can go to SourceWave sells them for $100. Um, but I stay with AdSense G, and I always order business accounts, and I get EINs for all my new AdSense accounts. Each AdSense and Amazon would have a separate EIN, so I try not to be connected, and
Do you just open
so
up
no
an
one get.
LLC for each one?
Yeah, for each, like each niche, each sub niche will have a different LLC. So when I go and have my taxes, it's easily can be 400 to 500 different LLCs.
Then start out
You know,
start out just one account.
Don't start off
Don't
like that.
yeah, don't don't worry about multiple accounts or anything like that. Start out with one account, start making money, prove the
Yeah.
system, prove the concept to yourself, and then decide which route you want to go. If it makes sense to, if you are going to continue adding on AdSense accounts, find a good CPA that will, handle all that setup for you, so that they can advise you on the best way, and be completely open with them exactly what you're hoping to do, why you need to have the different EINs. They'll give you the best setup based on where you live. Um, I know that Todd Basham, one of your members here, he's got a unique setup to where he can, he had a lawyer set some stuff up, and it's easy to do LLCs, but it just depends on the state that you live in, and where you do business and all that other stuff. So definitely, we can't, we're not qualified to give advice as to how to do it. But get in touch with someone that would be able to do that for you, as far as setting up the LLCs and everything with the correct structure.
Just
Um,
so you know, what I wound up doing, Andres, was that each corporation that or each LLC that I owned already, they all got an AdSense account, and then my brother got one, my mother got one, obviously people in my inner circle all got one, and to be honest with you, I didn't need more than a handful of them to start off with. If you're really going to scale this, like you said, I get in contact with somebody.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I scaled mine it took me a year to scale mine the way that I scale it. I didn't start off like that. I think I started with 5 accounts, and just like that, I had to prove it to myself that the SerpShaker sites work first. And then once I was like, oh, okay, so this one works, this isn't the way to do it, then I could scale it up.
Right, right. Don't jump in and scale without getting some solid
Yeah, because
data.
you'll get nailed.
Um, all right, I
Okay.
think we're gonna have to cut it off
Yeah.
here. We've gone 2 hours instead of the usual one. Um, if there's any other questions that come in,
Guys, if you got questions about certain things, throw them into I mean, things that are maybe not of this topic or whatever else. We got the Facebook group. If you haven't joined, feel free, show up and join. If you just go to
semeasy.com forward
semeasy.com.
slash FB.
Yep. Um, we haven't forgotten about you guys in reference to the Skype group. Anybody who filled that out as well, we'll get you guys into that. Um, I'm trying to think. We still have the forum. A lot of people don't like the forum. They don't like using forums anymore, but it's there. Feel free to post your questions, and we'll get the answers for you. Um, with that, guys, like I said, it's been a little over 2 hours, and we are ready to wrap this up. And we will speak to you guys soon.
Yeah, I've got to. I've got kids that will come
Yeah.
in screaming in about 5 minutes. So
Well, they're on the
I'm
same schedule as mine. That's what I'm looking at.
I'm sure that won't come through very nicely on the webinar audio. I've got the recording going on here. I'll go ahead and transcribe it and then get it uploaded for you guys. So before the end of the week, that should be live on the website as well. Anybody that wants to replay and make sure they go through that again. So we'll get that posted up. Next webinar will be in 2 weeks, and we'll make the announcement sometime next week with the specific topic that we'll cover. We're going to get a schedule in place so a few weeks in advance what's going to be covered each week. So we'll be, Holly, Andrew, Jake, and I will be working on that over the next week or 2 weeks to make sure we get that in place so it's easy for you all to see what's coming up and not be guessing. But thank you everybody for hanging out. It seems like we kept most of the original listeners all the way through 2 hours. Pretty cool. No, we'll talk to you. We'll hope to see you in the Facebook group. Please, whatever questions that didn't get answered, just put them on there. It will lead to some great discussion. We'll be able to continue on there um, and get you all taken care of.
All right, guys. We will speak to you soon.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Bye bye.